Hello and welcome to the Property Roundup here on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we chat to industry experts to get a view on activity on the ground and to learn about new trends emerging. This show is sponsored by daft.ie, Ireland's most visited property website. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Edel Keane, CEO of Keane Auctioneers in Wexford. Edel, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
So it's been a while since I've been down in Wexford. How is the market performing in terms of let's break it down. Let's look at the second-hand homes market first. What kind of activity is happening?
The market is very busy in Wexford. Second-hand property is moving quite well. New homes, as I suppose everywhere else in the country at the moment, we've waiting lists to get in. They're all booked out. But overall, Wexford is performed very, very well at the moment.
Okay, and so in terms of just, I'm really keen to talk about new homes, but just in terms of the second-hand homes, in terms of activity, are there many second-hand homes coming to the market? Because low levels of activity seems to be kind of plaguing all areas around the country.
There's a lot of country homes for sale. There's also there's town property coming to the market as well. But I think everybody seems to want the same thing at the moment when they ring us. They all want just something nice on the outskirts of town, close to everything, not too big. And yeah, there's only ever a handful for sale at any one time.
Okay, and I imagine there are probably properties that need work done as well. I mean, are the people who are coming in to buy, are they mainly first-time buyers, or are you meeting many
No,
people trading up or down?
we've a mixture. There's people trading up, there's people moving from 3 beds to 4 beds, there's people downsizing, moving in from, 6, 7, 8 bedrooms out in the country, looking for a nice 3 bed. So at the moment we've first-time buyers, we've people retiring, we've people moving into the county from different locations. So there's buyers from everywhere really at the moment.
Very good. And have you any investors, maybe coming as cash investors actually wanting to get into being a landlord? We're hearing all the time about the mass exodus, and we know from the stats that that's true in Wexford as well. But are you seeing many people who are actually looking to buy potentially rentable homes?
Yes, yeah. What I see is a lot of, let's say, investors that have been in the rental market for, let's say, the last 10, 15, 20 years. They're getting out of it. But then there's a new generation of investors getting into the market as well.
Okay, that's really interesting. You're
Yeah.
actually the first estate agent around the country that's talked about that. So actually, can we explore that a little? Who
Yeah.
are these what kind of demographic are they? Self-funded?
We have younger investors. Then like there's older investors as well. There's people buying with pensions to invest. We have people invest, like the value is still really, really good in the country market. 3 beds are making a really, really good rent. So overall, it's at the moment it's a really good investment. But I see a lot of new investors getting into the market.
Excellent. And in terms of outside of the pension funds, so other than those kind of purchasing through their pensions, how are they funded? Are they presenting as cash buyers? Are they able to access finance?
There's a mixture. There's a mixture,
Okay.
but there is a lot of cash buyers in the market at the moment.
Interesting. And so what would be their kind of price cap? Because I presume they're not going after the or the new homes because they've just become quite expensive with all of the government grants.
Again, a mixture. I see a lot of people, let's say, that have moved abroad and worked for the last 10 years. They're coming home. They'll buy one house to live in. They'll buy an investment. It's a really broad range. That's what I find.
Do you know, County Wexford has always been an interesting market, because you've always had the proximity to and relatively easy commute to the capital. But now you've got a situation where people don't need to commute. So now they can really lean into larger homes, fabulous natural amenities, gorgeous scenery, a coastal area, a microclimate of its own, essentially. So Wexford has always attracted a range of buyers, but it's always I don't want to say booked the trend, but it's almost had a little marketplace of its own. So it's interesting to hear that continue. And I'm really interested to hear about the new or next generation of investors going in, because that's something that we don't really see reflected in the data. We hear a lot about exiting landlords. And I think, our policies have been increasingly anti-landlord. We're
Sure.
not achieving balance at all. So it's interesting to hear who would still consider this as the right place to invest. So that's a really interesting one. Also, you mentioned people downsizing or perhaps right sizing coming in from the country into townhomes. Are they tending to go towards newly built?
Um, Again, a mixture. If there's a new development available in a location that suits them, they'll go for that, or they'll go for something, let's say, in an established neighborhood. It depends. It really depends on what they like on the day.
Yeah.
It-
The downsizing one is a really interesting one, because what we know is that there's plenty of people who are very attached to their area, to their community.
yeah,
And yes, they're attached to their home, but maybe they realize that it's too large or it's difficult to heat or will require a lot of work or modification if they're going to grow old in that property, or just if it might no longer meet their needs, even though they have an attachment to it. But generally, what we find is that people have an attachment to their area, to their community, to their neighbours, to
yeah.
the life they have there. So actually, if there is a suitable property for them to be able to downsize, and then actually they will jump at that. But in most areas around the country, that's just not an option. So it's interesting to hear that that is an option in Wexford. Do you operate across the entire county?
We do.
So where are you seeing the most activity? What towns?
You could. Everywhere is busy at the moment. Okay. Then let's say the likes of Rosslare Strand is extremely busy at the moment, because Rosslare Strand, a lot of people like to buy holiday homes there, but then a lot of people like to retire there. A lot of people like to rear their families there. So that's a very, very popular area. Kilmore Key is also very, very popular. And those areas have beautiful beaches, lovely lifestyle, nice restaurants. So it's a lifestyle you're selling when you go to locations like that. Um,
And so then, and I suppose people who are downsizing or retiring or in a position to acquire a holiday home, they're probably financially in a position to choose
mhm.
a lifestyle first purchase. But for people who are first time buyers, I mean, are there still affordable options there?
There is, yeah. Yeah. You might have to go, let's say, a little bit on the outskirts, or you buy something smaller, you buy something that needs a little bit of work. There's always options.
Okay, and so just before we leave the second-hand homes market, when you're going in and meeting people at the moment and valuing properties, what are the stories that the vendors or would-be vendors are telling you? Like, why are they thinking of moving now? And are they staying locally, or what's their plan?
Again, a mixture. Most will stay local or will relocate in the area. The market is good now. Prices are good now, so people are going to sell. And if it's the right time, let's say they're retiring or kids have grown up, or then you've got a young family that want to move out a bit. They've got a couple of kids, need a big garden. So it's a broad range of stories.
Yeah, do you know, when you talk about the market being good, generally the market is only good for one side of the transaction at a time, unfortunately, such is the nature of markets. So if it's a really good time to sell your second-hand home, might not be such a good time to buy a second-hand home, or
It
depending
depends
on
where they're going to
supply.
buy it. Evens out. It evens
Yeah.
out. So like their house, they're selling, the prices are up. They're buying, the prices up. But then the same, if the market dips, it evens out.
Very good. And so let's talk about the new homes then, the new homes market. What kind of activity has there been, and is that fairly evenly spread around the county?
How would I the new homes.
Yeah.
New homes are, how would I explain it? Insane, really, at the moment. They're so popular. The A rate attracts a lot of buyers. At the moment, like the two sites that we have would be fully booked. One site that we have, most of the time we don't even launch them, because there's people on a list to get in all of the time. This year we will have 4 new developments launching in new locations.
Okay.
And I'd imagine
They'll be booked
they're
as
going to be
well.
sold out pretty quickly.
Okay, and are all of these coming to the market at a price point that's within the government scheme, so people be able to avail of Help to Buy?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and is it mainly first-time buyers going in there?
No. You'd have first-time buyers, obviously they're going to avail of the grant. Again, the new homes close to town attract the retirement market as well, because they can come in, buy something, you know, it's a nice lifestyle again for them, doesn't need any work, easy to heat, they can walk to all of the amenities, they're close to town. So they appeal to a lot of buyers.
Fantastic. And is it mainly houses, or is it all houses, or some apartments?
The ones coming up this year are all houses. Yeah. And we do have 2 one-off new builds, which are going to be in the higher end market. They're going to be, you know, just a shake under 1 million, 3,500 square feet. So they seem to attract international buyers. So
okay. And would the international buyers tend to have a connection with the area?
Some of them do, some of them don't. This year, we've actually seen a lot of buyers from America.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. One of the things we've seen in terms of a trend since COVID is a trend towards purchasing country properties. And when you're talking about buyers, particularly buyers outside of Europe, they tend to want English countryside first. But if they don't find what they want, they're open to Irish countryside. And when they're not even country specific, they're definitely not county specific, and they really are just looking for the right property, the right proximity to whatever amenities that they need. And I suppose when you talk about a high number of US buyers, it would occur to me that, you know, Wexford obviously is very attractive for people traveling over. It feels quite close to Dublin if they're flying in and out. You're on the ferry route.
Yes.
Yeah, so
the big draw for them is 1.5 hours from the airport, and the beaches here are a huge draw to them.
Okay, and in terms of then affordability, you're still, like, County Wexford still appears to be hitting the affordability mark for
There's
people
still great value. Yeah, absolutely. There's great value. There's a great range of property, and we've property to suit every buyer in the market. Okay,
well then talk to me about some of your stock at the moment. So in terms of the second-hand homes, have you anything kind of particularly special there at the moment?
We do. We've lovely ones actually coming in over the next few weeks. Some interesting property. One has a sauna in the garden, which is really, really nice. That's a big thing again. That's after COVID. A lot of people updated their homes, their gardens and things like that, and all of the new buyers coming in, that's a big draw to them, because since COVID, people want country living, they want quiet living, or they're relocating from different areas. But we do have a broad range of stock at the moment. Every property is unique, every property is different. We've lovely the beachside cottages, a couple of, you know, luxury contemporary houses coming in, really nice townhouses in really nice established locations. So there's really good choice at the moment.
Then I suppose moving away from the sales market, in terms of rentals, how is the availability in Wexford at the moment?
We don't look after rented property, just sales, but any of the people in the area that I know that are working in that area, it's a huge shortage. It's very difficult.
And do you think that's actually encouraging people maybe to look towards buying at an earlier stage? Because I think our rental market is very broken. I think we've had just consistently poor and anti-landlord policies coming out from government, and there just seems to be no turning that around, despite an awareness of it needing to be. And I suppose the only saving grace is that there have been some really strong initiatives to stimulate new homes supply, and also to help the affordability of new homes. So do you think maybe that's encouraging people who might otherwise have had to rent for a couple of years, actually encouraging them down the
It
purchase route?
does, and as I say, you can your mortgage on your first home would actually be cheaper than what you pay on the rental market at the moment. But a lot of them are stuck. It's very hard. Like the rents are very, very high. It's very hard to save. We see a lot of first time buyers actually move back home with their family, which is great at the moment. You know, they'll move back for a year to two to get their savings, get their deposit together. But the rents are high. It's hard for them to save. But I
Yeah,
do absolutely encourage them, just buy. Even like sometimes the first time buyers will say to me, you know, I want this, I want that. It has to be perfect. And yes, we all don't get our dream home on the first or second purchase. Just buy something and do it up. You can rent it, you can sell it, you can make money. Just get on the ladder. Just buy a property. It's always good to have a property.
you know, it's interesting. I can remember before the crash, the same advice being given, and after. And it's funny, Wexford has always been a destination for that because, again, you know, we've talked about all the positives in terms of access to the capital and it being such an area of scenic beauty. But actually, there's, you know, so you've got the lifestyle choice as well. But with that, it's always had the affordability, whereas we see kind of similar marketplaces maybe in West Waterford or East Cork, and they've just become entirely unaffordable for local residents. And I'm sure that has happened in pockets around County Wexford, but as a county, there still tends to be affordability. And it was always the case that the further south you go, the greater the affordability. Is that still the same?
It is now. It is to a certain extent, but I do see, you know, sectors of the market have gone very, very high. But at the same time, if as first time buyers come into us and we get them on the search to find their home, whether we can get them something on the first month, at some stage, you know, we'll get them on the ladder, we'll get them into a house, and do it that way. But and I see there's value, there still is value there, but parts of the market are high at the moment.
One of the areas that saw a huge drive over the last 2.5 years, although the policy wasn't great, it has been tweaked, probably needs more tweaking. But the derelict and vacant homes grant, has that made a difference in terms of maybe some of the properties that might have lingered on your books for a long time, and maybe now suddenly becoming attractive to a new generation of buyer who's willing to do work? So would you have, or are there many of those properties?
Yeah, we have. We've sold a few this year, and with the vacant home grant, they've gone to again a mixture. An investor bought one, a retired client bought another, first time buyer. So again, it's not just geared towards the first time buyers. All areas of the market. It depends on the person whether they want a certain area or they're moving, downsizing. You know, and it's a plus then if the house has been vacant for 2 years.
Yeah, and well, the vacant homes grant is the one thing. For the derelict homes, I know that that's something that can be problematic for mortgaged buyers. So, just off the top of your head, would you know properties that need a substantial amount of work? So, some that would actually qualify for the larger derelict homes grant. Have you had any of those purchased by way of a mortgage where the buyers got a mortgage to buy the property, but then either had they have cash to renovate the property while they wait to claim back the grant, or they've actually been able to access mortgage funding to carry out some of the works?
I haven't had you know a sale like that, but down here, yeah, you just look. There's derelict homes, there's houses that need work, and some people can get a mortgage and then a post works after that. You know, they'll borrow and they'll renovate the house and things like that. So, and then you've cash buyers, you have builders down here that are interested in those type of properties. So it's variable.
You touched on something there about maybe buyer expectations. That's something that has definitely changed in the last 20 years. So I can remember when I bought my first home, I went in, I had no furniture. It was normal not to have furniture. People calling to my house were not at all surprised to see I had no furniture. You know, you're in your new home, you furnished one room at a time. You know, I can, and my peers would have all been the same. You know, I can remember people who did self builds would only have built the downstairs and then maybe 8 years later put in a stairs and finished upstairs. There was no such thing as getting a full finished Instagram ready house. Have buyer expectations changed? And is that a trend you've noticed, or is that a problem in the marketplace?
I wouldn't say it's a problem. I'd say expectations have changed. And then I suppose Instagram is a big thing. We see all these amazing looking property, and you don't get that. Takes work. If you see the bloggers before and after pictures, they'll show like they bought a site, they bought a room down house, and with blood, sweat and tears, you turn it into your dream home. But yeah, like everybody has to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, then I suppose before we finish up today, in the vein of everybody has to start somewhere, what advice do you have for first-time buyers who are just thinking about getting on the property ladder now, and maybe their budget is not going to run to one of the new homes? Or do you think that first-time buyers coming to you, do they have an awareness of the government grants and how you can use more than one grant? And do you think there's an awareness out there about the supports available?
More so this year, but last year, no, very few of them knew until we, told them about it on building sites and developments and things like that. But my advice to them really is just don't get disheartened at all. And just save. Just, register with the local agents, get to know them, just come in, give us your wish list, and something always crops up.
Yeah. Edel, you're an absolute breath of fresh air. That's definitely the most positive feedback we've gotten actually for people who might be intending to enter the market. So we'll make sure to send them in your direction. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. That was Edel. You're very welcome. That was Edel Keane, CEO of Keane Auctioneers in Wexford. My thanks as always to Katie Tallon and to the production team at Here Media. Also, huge thanks to show sponsor daft.ie, Ireland's most visited property website. And thank you indeed for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Property Roundup. In the meantime, please be sure to check out all of the other Irish and international real estate and construction shows here on iPropertyRadio.com.